Two Wheels this week, we send Jeff off to Cadwell Park to learn how to become a race marshal. And later, I'll be taking a ride on Honda's latest version of their best-selling CBR600. But first, here's Wayne in some very mean-looking bike gear.
You like the outfit, eh? Mean man in black. And before you ask, no, I'm not delivering chocolate. But they said to me, you've got a mean machine to road test. Matte black and angry. So I thought I'd have the gear to go with it. I don't believe it. He's done it to me again, hasn't he, that Paul Johnston? It's a flaming moped. Anyway, in for a penny, in for a pound. Right, well, I've calmed down a little bit now. You know, he's done it to me again, hasn't he? I end up with the scooters, or the mopeds. Or what is it? It's a Yamaha Slider, but I don't think it knows what it really wants to be. It is indeed a moped because it's restricted to 30 mile an hour and it's made for the youth 16-year-old. But is it really a scooter? Because it's got no leg shields, it's quite bare looking. I think it's a scooter that wants to be a street fighter. Well, you have got to admit, haven't you, it does look a bit street fighter-ish. Certainly if you put it in the vein of a moped after all. But is it like a street fighter? Just a little bit impractical? Well, I think it is, to be honest with you. For example, it hasn't got a compartment under the seat. Would you believe that? It's got nothing. It's got the fuel tank. Now, normally, every flaming moped I've ever been on, or scooter for that matter, has always had a big compartment under the seat where you can put your goodies. What about down here? Nowhere to put a key to open a glove box even. Can't believe it. No leg shields, for example, which is what you normally see on a scoot to keep your toes nice and dry and warm in the winter. So is it practical? Well, it's got everything that most modern scooters have anyway, with the big fat tyres, so that's a good idea. Good brakes on the front with the old disc brake and super caliper. So it's got things like that for safety, but it's a little bit impractical. Although they have had a good idea, and that's perhaps where they called it the Slider. If you're young and your insurance premiums are very, very high, then you would probably insure it third party, or third party fire and theft. If you have an accident on it, you're down to paying for it. So you haven't got all the big plastics like you have on most mopeds and scooters that you have to repair and repaint, which cost a flaming fortune. What they've done here is have two little pads on the side here, which are removable and replaceable dead easy with a couple of screws. And then all you might have to go to is the expense of maybe a lever or a handlebar grip or possibly a mirror. So it's cheap if you like throwing it around or even fall off it on occasions. So there are some practical sides to it, and you have got to admit it does look mean, just like a real street fighter. Like it or not, it does look a bit different, but it actually does not perform any differently. It is, after all, a moped. A regular moped, a rev and go, as they say. It's got the usual CVT transmission, which means it simply chooses the right gear for you, and it performs reasonably well. As with most of the mopeds that are available nowadays, you've got to consider it has only got 12-inch wheels. It's got nice big fat tyres, mind, but a 12-inch wheel, even with a fat tyre, you have to consider that such as potholes and lumps in the road, you've got to deviate, you've got to go around them, because it's not going to ride over those things and those problems quite the same as maybe an 18-inch wheel. Now, as this is a 50cc moped, then naturally it will only travel at around 30 mile an hour, which is its restricted speed for the 16-year-old or the provisional licence holder. But we've had it changed a little and de-restricted it, so at the moment it's travelling along around 50 mile an hour, 80 kilometres an hour, and it's actually ideal for in and out of the traffic and scooting along the country lanes and along dual carriageways. Perfect. Now, the brakes on it are just adequate enough. Well, naturally it doesn't need R1 superbike type performance brakes, because after all it's about 100 kilograms in weight lighter than such as an R1, so it doesn't need 6-pot calipers. The brakes are more than good enough, and it is a serious fun machine. after all called a Yamaha Slider. Do you know, I love messing around in the mud, especially my dirty weekends away. On bikes, of course. But I like the mud, but I know a guy who actually likes the tarmac. Now this fella is probably the best man in his field. It's a guy called Dave Coates. He's a fantastic stunt rider. In fact, he's Yamaha Slider demonstrator. Check this guy out. Hey, he's a bit good as that Dave Coates chappie, isn't he? You know, I taught him everything he knows. Not. But if you fancy buying a Yamaha Slider to do either stunts on or even just use on the road, it'll cost you around £1,600. For that, you buy the bike. A little extra, you get a special insurance deal, and they even throw in free of charge RAC recovery for 1 year. So it's a nice little package at the moment. But I've had enough of that. I feel the need to get something just a bit bigger. And this will do nicely, a nice Honda CBR600F. This will do, no keys in it though. What do you mean no? What are you trying to say? Oh no, what now? Oh, not another flaming scoot. Although, I must admit, this is a 100cc Aerox from Yamaha, and it does indicate performance. Well, I wonder whether it does perform. Well, I'm going to borrow it for just a couple of days, and I'll report back to you and let you know whether it performs or not.
Yes, you've guessed it, Cadwell Park race circuit. Not really a day for racing because it's pretty windy and it's cold and the track's wet. But if you've got a superb track like this one and many other circuits, and you've also got race bikes, that's fine. But what else do you need? You need marshals. And what do marshals do? Well, that's what we're here today for, to find out. As far as practical work went, looking after the actual sessions in the classroom was Phil Gorton, who is the Chief Training Officer.
Some things to remember. Overalls, have to for the TV. Waterproofs, because we know what this country's weather's like. Gloves, are definite. Sturdy footwear. We really shouldn't be wearing trainers out there. I know people do, but it really shouldn't happen. Really should be wearing boots. Not necessarily steel toe caps, but boots to protect the ankle, and they're a lot sturdier if you do have to run on and kick something off, like an exhaust, anything like that. It's far better to be kicking it with a boot rather than a trainer.
With close on 40 race-safe marshals ready to learn, I asked Chief Marshal Mike Blakey what the day was all about. So how do you actually structure today then? How does it all start?
Well, we would normally always concentrate on certain things. The first thing that we talk about after the introduction is personal safety, because that really is the crucial item in marshalling. If you're not safe yourself, then you're not in a position to help the rider who's fallen off. Okay. So we always make that one of our key issues. At the moment there's a great change in worldwide flag signalling, and so what we're going to do is to concentrate and have a session on flags, because there are quite noticeable changes.
The blue flag and the white flag will be waved and not held stationary. Now that is the big change. Before we've had a still flag, moving on to a waved flag on the next section. That stationary flag has gone. There will just be a waved white and a waved blue. The green, red and the oil flag will be shown. Now we've put that in inverted commas because it was actually stated that this wasn't waved and it wasn't stationary. It was shown. Now what I can suggest, especially with something like the oil flag, is instead of just holding it still, is that you hold it but you actually move it. In places like this, on a day like this, the wind will do it for you, I'm sure. But if you agitate the flag, if you actually show the movement of the flag, that will be enough to catch the rider's eye.
But it's not only flags, of course. You also need hand signals, so one marshal can signal to another one which flag to put out. And Jan came out into the cold to signal just what she has to do. So to request medical assistance for an injured rider. And then there's the signal to display that the pace car is coming out. Then there's a signal from the incident officer, and it's the incident officer only to flag marshals to display a red flag. Then there's a request for a scoop stretcher to be brought out to a casualty. And finally there's a request for the oil flag to be displayed, and this can be given by any marshal who sees or suspects that there's a loss of adhesion on the track.
In the last year or so, there have also been a number of quite serious incidents, or potentially serious incidents, where people have handled casualties, fallen riders, very badly. And we just want to make sure that that doesn't happen. And so we have a session on why we need to do certain things when a rider falls off, why we have not to do certain things.
Yeah.
You know, you don't twist them around, you don't screw their head. And you know, how do you, if you really have to help taking a helmet off, how do you do it?
When you're first going up to see people, you need to get the helmet over. You can see he's already fogging his visor. He might not be doing that at high speed, but he's already rebreathing CO2 and not getting as much oxygen. So you need to get this open. It's a horrible sight, but we need to talk to him. We need to find out what's going on. I'm looking at him. If he's unconscious, he's not talking at me. I can see he's, you know, the lights are out. I can see they are actually anyway, but the lights are out, this guy's unconscious, we need to get his helmet off. And that's why I need some assistance. I've got my hands on his helmet because I'm stopping his neck moving around. But right from the start, that's what we're doing. And now I've got some assistance. An assistant is now supporting the head, which means I've got my hands free. And the first thing you need to do is undo the strap, because it's very difficult taking the helmets off without undoing the strap. It's possible in odd chinless wonders, but mostly you've got to get that undone. If you can't undo it, I don't care how expensive the helmet is, just cut it. Try not to cut the throat when you're doing it, it makes a lot of mess and it doesn't look good on the cameras. Once we've got that done, we've got to protect his neck. There are two key issues here. We need to protect his neck and we need to get the helmet off. And that's why we have two people. One person's job is protecting the neck. The other person's job is to take the helmet off. And to protect their neck, put two pairs of hands broadly spread is good. If I take my hands out the side of his neck, I'm now supporting his neck and I'm putting my thumbs underneath here to support his chin also. So I can now support his neck. And now, I can say to Jeff, and now Jeff can take the helmet off. Just like you take your own helmet off, you need to think about rocking it. If they've got spectacles, take them off first, and we don't worry about Mike's nose, but normally you'd protect his nose when you're doing that. But can you see how I'm supporting his neck? He didn't flop around like Gobert's did. It's still not flopping around. I can flop it around if I like, but can you see how with a two-handed grip like that, I'm stopping his head moving? And Mike's neck hardly moved at all when we took his helmet off. That is how you safely take a helmet off. It's easy, it's simple, you can all do it. I can now hand over care of his neck and we can now put a collar on to help protect it. But all the way through, one person's hands are protecting his neck. If you slide your hands up now, all the way through, his neck is being protected.
Well, that's all we've got time for now. But if you want to see more on Cadwell, don't forget to tune in next week.
And still to come this week, after the break, Honda's new CBR600. You know, sometimes a manufacturer brings out a new model of motorcycle that somehow disappoints everybody. It's not quite what we expected. It doesn't quite look the way we thought it would. Well, that was my opinion when Honda brought out their last CBR600. Remember that one, the one with the big vacuum cleaner pipes on the front? Didn't quite look right to me. It looked a bit bland, a bit boring, wasn't aggressive enough, wasn't quite sporty enough, although there's no question that it all worked perfectly well. Well, imagine my delight when I first clapped eyes on this, the brand new 2001 CBR600. Honda haven't just improved the looks of the new CBR, they've actually now made it available in two versions. This is the CBR600F, and there's also a sportier looking version called the CBR600FS. It's certainly every bit as comfortable as previous models, but like all other middleweight sports bikes, it is slightly lacking in bottom end grunt. But hey, hit 6,500 revs and it really comes alive. You know, I've always said that the single most important thing when you're choosing a new bike is, do you like what it looks like? It doesn't matter how good it's supposed to be, you can read all the test reports, it can be the best bike in the world. If you think it looks ugly, you ain't going to buy it, simple as that. Well, I think the new CBR600 scores about 10 out of 10 in the looks department. It just looks fantastic to me. It's sleek, it's streamlined, it's aggressive now, it looks sporty. It definitely looks like a flying machine. The first thing you'll notice about the new CBR is the shape of it. Different shape. The front end, for example, the most obvious part of any bike. It's different, isn't it? It's pointy now. Look, we've got a big V shape there, twin headlamps. Very, very aggressive styling. Certainly a bit of Kawasaki in there, and there's a bit of Yamaha. In fact, there's a bit of lots of different sports bikes in there. And it all works very well. Looks really nice and aggressive. Look at this now. We've got big air intakes here. No Hoover pipes. Big vacuum pipes we had sticking out there on the other model, which looked awful. But we've got these now. Big super duper air intakes. Front mudguard, that's different. It's bigger than before, it's more streamlined, it covers more of the bottom of the forks, more of the wheel itself, all to do with aerodynamics. And there's lots of subtle little changes in this that you'll never know, not unless you took the damn thing apart anyway. In here, the fork internals, they're different. They're now aluminium. They were steel before, so they're a bit lighter. And even details such as the calipers, the little Nissan calipers there, the pistons in them, they're now aluminium instead of steel. Again, all to do with saving weight and making the whole thing lighter. But going back to these big air intakes, what they'll do, they'll pull the air in through the tubes up here into the airbox, which you can't see, it's underneath the tank. It's a bigger airbox before, sucks more air in, because when you snap the throttle open on this, you need a big chunk of air to make it all work very well, because it's fuel injected and you've got instant power on tap with this. It really is very, very, well, immediate. That's the only word to describe it. The frame is different. Well, it's not different, it's the same frame, but it's differently done. A lot beefier up at the headstock, a lot of strengthening up there, and again, down at the bottom end, the rear mountings there, all beefed up a bit and all a lot stronger to cope with the extra power. The dashboard is very nice though. I want to show you this. Look at this for a nice little dashboard. Just move that choke cable out of the way, the clutch cable out of the way. When I switch it on, look at that. Hey, that's funky, isn't it? Analog rev counter. Digital speedo, which is brilliant. Every bike should have a digital speedo. You can see it at a glance. You imagine trying to glance down at these numbers here and read them accurately when you're travelling at speed. It's very difficult. This, dead easy. You can read it accurately to the exact mile an hour. And of course you've got all your warning lamps and things, a couple of little trip meters on it, a clock, low fuel warning, really everything you need. What it hasn't got this, because it's packed with technology and it's fuel injected, is it hasn't got a manual choke. The choke normally would live here on the left-hand grip there. You pull that on a cold morning, fire it up, and then usually you'd back it off, wouldn't you? So it's just about running, it's not racing away, so it doesn't upset the neighbours. Well, what happens on this, when you turn it on, automatic choke, cold morning, fires up perfectly. It's quite warm now, so we're only running at just almost 1,500 revs. Tick over would be about 1,000, but on a cold morning, that'll be up just over 2,000 revs, and you can't slow it down. Well, that's no problem, you might say. But if you like, I think a lot of people will put a race can on this. Probably the first thing people will buy for the new CBR will be a race can, makes lots of noise. You fire this up on a cold morning, over 2,000 revs, a lot of noise, you're not going to be very popular with the neighbours. In the past, the CBR600 has always been praised for its all-round ability, and this new model is no exception. It's lighter than before, it's very flickable, it's quick to change direction, but it's equally at home, chugging along at 30 miles an hour in busy traffic. You don't have to thrash the pants off it to appreciate its quality. And being a new model, it's fitted with HISS, that's Honda's ignition security system, in which the key has a unique coding to help prevent theft. It does mean, however, that should you lose both of the supplied keys, you'll need to replace the whole ignition unit. Ouch. It's also got a smart water security system, which should help deter the odd dodgy character. On the road, the 600F is £6,800, and a further £400 or so will buy you the sport version. So 2 new models now of CBR600 to choose from, the 600F and the 600F Sport. Which is it to be? Well, as I say, £400 and odd will get you the sport version. So how much extra do you get for your money? Well, on the sport model, for the extra cash, you will actually get an extra tooth on the rear sprocket. fantastic, that'll come in really useful. You'll also get stronger valve springs, so it allows the engine to rev slightly higher. Why you need that, I really don't know. You'll also get a racing style seat unit on the sport model, a step seat, the little pillion pad up here, actually looks quite nice. And you get a nice fancy red and black SP1 style paint job. What you don't get on the sport model for your extra cash is you don't get a centre stand. This has got a centre stand, dead useful for adjusting your chain, lubing your chain and doing your sort of routine maintenance. Why you don't get one on the sport, I really don't know, I can't answer that. If it was my money I was spending, I would stick with this. With its nice dual seat, nice comfy seats, even got a grab rail on the back. The Sport doesn't even have a grab rail. And I'd save myself a few quid and I'd spend that on a rear hugger because it needs one to keep all the muck off the road, because that is the only thing this bike is short of. The rest of the machine is absolutely spot on. And coming up on Two Wheels next week, more from the Marshall's training day at Cadwell Park, and we'll see how Wayne got on with his Aerox 100.